Prakash sir, good morning. This is Dr. Rajendra, Registrar from Central University.
Good morning. So how many students are there in Central University, Rajendra?
Sir, we have nearly 2,000 PG students and nearly 400 PhD scholars.
How many faculty?
Faculty, regular faculty, we have 115.
Oh, good.
115, and we are in the process of recruitment. Nationwide, I think most of the university, they are going to recruit very soon. Yeah.
I think the younger the university, the higher the recruitment. Always.
Yeah. We have around 81 vacant positions, sir, in the university.
Yeah, but it's good to find the right people. And,
yes. Huge competition also is there. I mean, yeah.
Right.
Very soon we will be notified within a week.
Very nice. I wish you all the best in getting the best faculty.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And myself, registrar in charge for time being, our registrar also going to be recruited very soon. I basically belong to biochemistry department. You know.
Oh, is it? Where did you do your master's and PhD?
Sir, my master's from Mahatma Gandhi University, PhD from Osmania University, Hyderabad.
Oh, okay. Under whose guidance?
Dr. Sashidhar Rao.
Oh, okay. Know him very well.
I know, sir. He was closely associated with the CFTRI Mysore. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're working on certain ELISA kit and all, aflatoxin related.
Mahatma Gandhi University, what year you were there?
Sir, I was there in 96, 98.
Okay. I think I visited it in 98, actually. I remember.
And university, sir. We were in School of Biosciences. Yeah.
Right. I know the building also. I remember it very well.
Now it changed a lot, that campus. Building also expanded.
So it's amazing how India is so fortunate to have good educational institutions and research institutions.
Yes, sir.
That's very important.
Our Central University completed a decade now. Even now.
Yeah. You and the university in Ajmer, Rajasthan, more or less started together.
Yes, sir. Yes. Rajasthan.
I remember that.
Yes.
In fact, I went for a convocation there.
Oh, really?
So these are all central universities that came in together as an education policy at that time.
Yes, as per 2009 Parliament Act. Yeah.
Right. So that was the old education policy. And now, of course, you have NEP, which is new education.
Yeah. Lot of implementation discussion is happening in the campus. NEP, how to implement. Yeah,
we had to change with time. Otherwise,
skilling and other.
So how are we doing with time? We are just crossed 2 minutes after 10 o'clock.
We can start.
Yeah, we'll start, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Aparna.
Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are very much audible.
Thank you, sir. A very warm welcome to the inaugural session of the national webinar on why women's nutrition matters, organized from 27 to 28 September by the Center for Women's Studies, Central University of Kerala, and funded by the National Commission for Women, India. The webinar is conducted as part of celebrating Poshan Mah 2021. Before we begin, a couple of instructions for the attendees. Please mute your audio throughout the session. If you have any comments or questions to the speaker, you can drop them in the chat box and they will be taken up by the moderator of each session to the speaker. We shall begin with the University Anthem. Before we move on to the official proceedings of the inaugural session, I would like to briefly acknowledge the commendable efforts undertaken by the National Commission for Women. The National Commission for Women was set up as a statutory body in January 1992 under the National Commission for Women Act 1990. The Commission seeks to fulfill the surveillance functions to facilitate redressal of grievances and to accelerate the socio-economic development of women. It works towards reviewing the constitutional and legal safeguards for women, recommending remedial legislative measures, facilitating redressal of grievances, and advising the government on all policy matters affecting women. In keeping with its mandate, the Commission has initiated various steps to improve the status of women and has worked for their economic empowerment. It receives a large number of complaints and acts suo motu in several cases to provide speedy justice. It has taken up the issue of child marriage, sponsored legal awareness programs, and has reviewed laws such as the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961 to make them more stringent and effective. It organizes workshops, constitutes expert committees on economic empowerment of women, conducts seminars for gender awareness, and takes up publicity campaign against social evils such as female feticide and violence against women in order to generate awareness in the society. Complementing the vision of the Commission, the Center for Women's Studies was launched in Central University of Kerala on 25th April 2018. Ms. Sushmita Sahu, member, National Commission for Women, launched the center, and Dr. Urmila Devi, Joint Secretary, UGC, was the guest of honor. The center was to develop as a critical instrument for social and academic development. The university, located in a rural area, has a large number of students from marginalized and minority communities. Creating gender consciousness and spreading awareness about their rights have been essential tasks. Activities undertaken by the center include organizing invited talks and lectures and seminars on subjects such as human trafficking, human rights, workplace harassment, women-related issues, and training programs and workshops for students. As it grows, the center hopes to start full-time diploma and postgraduate courses in women's studies and gender studies. It also hopes to contribute to collaborative research funded by state governments, ICSSR, and other bodies of national reputation across regions and centers with independent centers of research in women's studies. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Supriya P., Coordinator, Center for Women's Studies, Central University of Kerala, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Aparna. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Central University of Kerala, Professor Venkateshwarlu, respected Registrar in Charge, Central University of Kerala, Dr. Rajendran Pillankata, respected speaker for the webinar today, Padma Shri Dr. V. Prakash, Professor Emma Biju, Chairman of the Advisory Committee of Center for Women's Studies, members of Advisory Committee, faculty members from Central University of Kerala, and various educational institutions and universities, research scholars, students. A very good morning to all of you. The Center for Women's Studies at Central University of Kerala is organizing this national webinar on why women's nutrition matters in collaboration with the National Commission for Women, Government of India, as part of celebrating the month of September as the Nutrition Month or Poshan Mah. Various campaigns and activities are conducted across the country with the aim of improving the nutritional outcomes for women and children. This webinar particularly focuses on nutrition of adolescent girls, pregnant women, and lactating mothers. Ensuring adequate nutrition for women is important not only for their own health and well-being, but also for healthy generations to come. Women's nutrition has now been included as a special focus area in UNICEF India's nutrition programming. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the nationwide lockdown negatively impacted women's nutrition. A study from the Tata Cornell Institute for Agriculture and Nutrition, New Delhi, showed that women's dietary diversity, the number of food groups consumed, declined during the lockdown compared with the same period in 2019. The drop was due to decreased consumption of foods rich in micronutrients that are crucial to good health and development. A decrease in the quantity and quality of nutritious foods consumed by women during the pandemic was also observed. The causative factor of undernutrition is not limited only to availability of adequate food, but is also influenced by early marriage and conception, education, empowerment, and decision-making power of women. In this backdrop, we need to deliberate on why women's nutrition matters. In 3 sessions, we discussed the current nutritional status of women in India, how women's nutrition was affected by the pandemic, and women's nutrition for sustainable development. Before we begin, my duty is to welcome all the dignitaries present offline and online. Under the leadership of Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor H. Venkateshwarlu, Central University of Kerala is developing at a great pace. So has been encouraging the center to progress with remarkable events. And I believe under Sir's leadership, we would be able to envisage the motives of the center in a more positive way. Due to an official emergency, Sir could not join the webinar today. Even in his absence, I extend a warm welcome to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Venkatesh Verlu. Respected Registrar in charge of Central University of Kerala, Dr. Rajendran Pillangatta, will be inaugurating the webinar today. Dr. Rajendran is the head of the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. Sir is leading the COVID testing virology lab at Central University of Kerala with his whole team. On behalf of the Center for Women Studies and National Commission for Women, I extend a heartfelt welcome to you, Dr. Rajendran. We are honored to have Padma Shri Dr. V. Prakash today to deliver the keynote address. Let me introduce sir. Dr. V. Prakash is currently the President of International Union of Food Science and Technology and Vice President of International Union of Nutritional Sciences, and the first Indian in the span of last 50 years to occupy both these positions. He was former director of CFTRI, Mysore, and was appointed as Distinguished Scientist of CSIR, India. He has received more than 65 national and international awards, including one of the High India Civilian Award Padma Shri from Honorable President of India, and coveted Shanti Swaroop Bhatnagar Award for Science and Technology from Prime Minister of India. Rajyotsav Awards at state level and several Lifetime Achievement Awards from various organizations like All India Food Processors Association, Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, International Union of Food Science and Technology, and KSTA, Karnataka Science and Technology Academy. He is a fellow of most of the academies in India and KSTA, and also Royal Society of Chemistry at UK, International Academy of Food Science and Technology, Canada, and Institute of Food Technologists, USA. Dr. Prakash's scientific contribution in the area of food science, food technology, chemistry, and biochemistry of foods and biomolecules, nutrition, nutritionals, and nutraceuticals, food and nutrition safety is vast and in depth with new innovations and technologies in the foreground. Dr. Prakash has of date 218 peer-reviewed research publications, 55 patents filed, nearly 50 PhDs and master's degree guided, and 836 plus keynote, chief guest, and convocation addresses delivered. He's the author of 16 books and 10 more books are in the pipeline. Dr. Prakash has completed 50 years of his untiring service and dedication to food science and technology in the focused area of chemistry of proteins and enzymes and biomolecules and nutraceuticals in the large realm of government committees, academia, R&D organizations, and industry interface with innovation-driven research. His vast knowledge for sustainable food and nutritional sciences interfacing has resulted in building innovative R&D institutions recognized at global levels for excellence in teaching and research together for outreach to the needy population. He is currently looking at traditional foods globally with a new window of approach and opportunities for healthy, nutritious food scale up for the population from pediatrics to geriatrics for promotive health on a firmly science-based approach. We are glad to have you as the main speaker for the inaugural session, sir. With immense pleasure, on behalf of Central University of Kerala and National Commission for Women, I extend a warm welcome to Dr. Prakash. National Commission for Women is financially supporting this webinar. The Commission is guiding us from the very beginning to ensure that the theme of the webinar is addressed in a proper way. On behalf of Central University of Kerala, I extend a very warm welcome to all the members of National Commission for Women. We have with us today Professor Govindrao Dudukari, Dean, School of Biological Sciences and Director of Research at Central University of Kerala for the felicitation address. On behalf of Center for Women Studies and National Commission for Women, I welcome you, Professor Govindrao. Dr. Arati Nair, Medical Officer at Central University of Kerala, is here for the felicitation address. Dr. Arati is working efficiently with her medical team. I welcome Dr. Arati on behalf of Central Center for Women Studies and National Commission for Women. Professor Emma Biju is the chairman of the Advisory Committee of Center for Women Studies and also the Dean of School of Global Studies. With his academic experience, sir has been guiding the Center for Excellence. On behalf of Center for Women Studies and National Commission for Women, I welcome you, sir. Dr. Jayalakshmi Rajiv, member of the Advisory Committee of Center for Women Studies, is the convener of this webinar. I need to acknowledge the efforts taken by Dr. Jayalakshmi to put together the program. She will deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of Center for Women Studies and National Commission for Women. I extend my heartfelt welcome to you, Jayalakshmi. Dr. Chitra Manisheri and Dr. Ashwati Nair, members of the advisory committee, are the joint conveners of this webinar. Dr. Chitra will be the moderator of the session today. I welcome Dr. Chitra and Dr. Ashwati. I also welcome all other members of the advisory committee, Dr. Lakshmi, Dr. Asha, Dr. Prasanna Kumar sir, who have been cooperating well to bring out a fruitful outcome of the webinar. Ms. Aparna Raghunathan, student representative of Center for Women Studies from the Department of English, is comparing the session today. Welcome, Aparna. Ms. Gina and Ms. Julia, representative of Center for Women Studies from the Department of English and Public Health, respectively, are the rapporteurs of the webinar. I welcome Gina and Julia. I welcome all the faculty members, academicians who have joined from various institutions across India. I also welcome representatives from various NGOs. Your presence is highly appreciable. A warm welcome to researchers and students from various domains. I also extend a warm welcome to the Public Relations Officer, Mr. Sujit, and the Technical Assistance team at Central University of Kerala. Welcome one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, allow me to welcome Dr. Rajendra Pillankata, Registrar in Charge, to deliver the inaugural address.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Venkateshwarluji, in absentia. He's on a very urgent tour, official tour. So that's why he could not attend here. And today's our chief guest, the distinguished scientist, as well as former director, CFTRI Mysore, Padma Shri Dr. V. Prakash sir, and Dean School of Biological Science, Professor Govind Rao sir, and Coordinator, Center for Women's Studies, Dr. Supriya, Dr. Chitra Manisheri, Dr. Jayalakshmi, deans of various schools, heads of various departments, the faculty members, research scholars, students, members of National Commission for Women, members of NGOs, sorry, I missed Dr. Arati Nair, medical officer, and other distinguished members. A warm good morning to all of you. I feel extremely happy and proud to be here on this important occasion of the inaugural ceremony on National Webinar on Why Women's Nutrition Matters, convened by Center for Women's Studies, Central University of Kerala, in collaboration with the National Commission for Women, Government of India. So, as we know the relevance of topic very well, I would like to point out a few points. We are all very eager to listen from Prakash sir regarding the topic. So we know that the development of any country, the socio-economic development of any country depends on the human resource present there in that particular country. In that case, we can tell our country, our great nation, is very young. When we see the average age, it becomes like 29 and 30. So very young population are there. So naturally, the demographic dividend becomes higher towards our country. So what happens is, so if the citizens are not healthy, if they are morbid, instead of demographic dividend, it becomes demographic disaster. So that is the catch actually. So how to build a healthy country? So there comes the matter, a well-nourished population, especially women. Usually there is a saying, when you train a boy, you train an individual, but when you train a girl child, you are training a family, thereby whole nation. If you closely see the innovation index in global scenario, global innovation index, India is actually marching ahead in the innovation index. We were in 63 or something. We are nearing like nearly 40. We are nearing 40 now. So the jumping very fast. If you see the innovation index of the Western world, the women education has a close correlation with that. And if you see a malnourished women, can give birth to a malnourished kid. Again, malnourished kid is becoming morbid because of various reasons. A malnourished population in total, so it is a cyclic process. So a malnourished population in total, what happens is it becomes instead of asset, it becomes a burden for the country's growth actually. So the very theme, nourishing women population, becomes very, very relevant. And there is no question about that. And now coming to our Central University of Kerala, I am very proud to tell that, also being NIRF coordinator since last many, years, like 4 or 5 years, what I can see is the ratio of students. If you see our Central University of Kerala, nearly 60 to 70% students are female students, girl students. So there itself, the responsibility of Center for Women Studies in Central University of Kerala becomes larger and larger. And I also congratulate the entire fraternity of the Center for Women Studies of Central University of Kerala in this occasion for organizing such an important webinar. And also I congratulate for their commitment for this, for the holistic growth of the women in the regional as well as national level. So I feel our university is harboring an ideal ecosystem for conducting research, especially in the women nutrition, because unlike a dedicated scientific institute, our university has 27 different departments, very diverse in the specialization, but very much mutually complementary. If you see, we have, for a few examples, I can tell, if you see the School of Biological Science, there are 4 departments, very closely related. And meanwhile, you have public health and community medicine in another side. You have social work department, which can extend their arm to the common man. And you have economics department, you have environment science department, very diverse and mutually complementary research ecosystem does exist in Central University of Kerala. So I feel in collaboration with the Center for Women Studies and also National Commission for Women, we can do a lot. Our university can do a lot. So again, in the beginning, it was, I felt very happy while interacting with our today's chief guest, the most distinguished scientist, our Dr. Veda Prakash sir. We were actually interacting about the statistics of the university. So, I mean, and he especially mentioned this 2009 Act, and our together many central universities started. So most of these universities belonging to the remote area and poorly developed area. So there is a vision for that. Actually, we have to extend our arm to the common man in the rural area. For example, I can tell you, highlight one simple statistics of Goiter, iodine deficiency disease. If you see, in tribal women, it is most prevalent. When you come to rural area, it is relatively lesser. If you come to urban area, it is not that much prevalent. The disparity happens. And if you take the anemia also, so what happens is the outreach is important. Creating awareness is important. being a committed higher education institute, we are all responsible citizens, and we have to actually extend our arms to the common man of the society. So the very recent Poshan Abhiyan was inaugurated in 2018 by our Honorable Prime Minister of India to create awareness, or in a way to generate a Jan Andolan, to create awareness and educate people the importance of the nutrition, because that is the one actually the foundation for healthy, building of healthy nation and wealthy nation. And similarly, the September month, we know that it is actually Poshan Ma. We are celebrating as a Poshan Ma. Poshan Ma has, I think, 4 or 5 series of activities in 4 different weeks. So including Nutri Garden onwards, so many things are coming up in that. So that all having a lot of relevance, and it is actually, invoking in a way responsibility in each individual. And also our university is going to tie up the same thing with the Azadi Ki Amrit Mahotsav, lot of programs being clubbed, so that also to generate awareness and to extend the support to the common man. So I think the COVID-19 pandemic actually affected severely. I know that everybody knows that since the last 1.5 years, actually we were pushed into dark actually because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are transcending that, and we are coming up with the flying colors very soon. So I know that during this time, significant portion of the population affected by, poverty and joblessness, and that directly impacted the nutrition of especially women population and also infants. So that is coming years, it will be a problem. I mean, that need to be actually, it's a matter of discussion how to overcome that, the post-COVID symptom in combination with the malnutrition. Malnutrition means it is not only undernutrition, it is also, if you see in Kerala, 47% of women are actually overweight actually. So that's what a lot of statistics need to be taken into consideration for while discussing about this important factor. So I know that we are all waiting very eagerly for the talk by Prakash sir. And with these few words, I would like to conclude here, and also I would like to officially declare that the function is inaugurated by lighting the lamp. Thank you all. Thank you all for gathering here. I thanks once again.
Thank you, sir. I would like to request Dr. Rajendra Pillankata to mark an auspicious beginning to the webinar series by lighting the lamp. I also request Dr. Jayalakshmi Rajiv, Dr. Chitra Manisheri, and Dr. Supriya to join in.
Prakash sir, we wish that next time, physically we will meet in the campus in some important occasion, sir. So unfortunately, this time we could not.
No, it's nice to see you are invoking the blessings of God by lighting the lamp of nutrition.
Thank you, sir. Thank
for
you.
empowering the women who really are the torch bearers of nutrition for children, men, and also women. So let this light be perpetually burning in their hearts to bless us all. Thank you.
You, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I would now like to welcome Professor Govinda Rao Dudukuri, Dean, School of Biological Sciences and Director of Research, Central University of Kerala, to offer felicitation.
Well, thank you. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor H. Venkateshwarlu, our Registrar, Central University of Kerala, in charge, Dr. Rajendra Pilankatta, and today's speaker, Padma Shri Dr. V. Prakash, sir, eminent scientist and former Director CFTRI, Mysore, and Dr. Arati Nair, our medical officer, Dr. Supriya, Coordinator, Center for Women Studies, Deans, heads of the departments, resource persons, and participants. A warm welcome to all of you to this two-day webinar on why women nutrition matters. I congratulate at the outset the Center for Women Studies, Central University of Kerala, for organizing such an important webinar on the subject. Certainly, women nutrition is very important as it affects women's health, family health, and the nation's health also. So we all know that women nutritional needs are peculiar and different and important, as they have to play the reproductive role as well as the caregiver role of the family. So therefore, the woman nutrition is important, especially for two reasons. It helps them to be productive members of the society, and it affects the health and development of next generation. So therefore, malnutrition or undernutrition certainly affects women's health and even nation's progress as well. So to achieve women health, what is required? So what I feel is the recommendations from institutions such as National Institute of Nutrition, they needs to be implemented precisely at grassroots level. And also to ensure women's nutrition, so the awareness programs must be brought in. Therefore we can achieve the women nutrition, especially for the poor people, those who are under poverty line in India. So in this context, this two-day webinar on the women nutrition will focus on the women nutrition during pandemic situation, nutritional status of women in India, and women nutrition in sustainable development. So all these, this to happen, two-day webinar will discuss on the issues concerning women nutrition, the resolving the impediments. I wish the two-day webinar a grand success, and I thank Dr. Supriya, Organizing Secretary, for this webinar, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to welcome Dr. Arati R. Nair, Medical Officer, Central University of Kerala, to offer felicitation.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Venkateshwarlu, sir, in absentia, Dr. Rajendra Pilankatta, Registrar, Central University of Kerala. Keynote speaker of today, Dr. Padma Shri V. Prakash, sir, Dr. Supriya, Coordinator, Center for Women Studies, Professor Govinda Rao, my dear colleagues, students, and all other participants. A very good morning to all of you. Every year, in this month, we celebrate Rashtriya Poshan Ma to ensure the community participation and mobilization to bolster the nutrient requirements of the people and to address the malnutrition status among the young children and women. As all of you are aware, maternal nutrition and child nutrition is among the Millennium Development Goals. As various health statistics depicts, the maternal nutrition plays a very crucial role in influencing the maternal, neonatal, and child health outcomes. Today, the relationship of women's nutrition in connection with the birth outcomes, stunting rates in children, morbidity rates, and so on is well established, which I come across in my practice every day, like maternal nutrition and child nutrition affecting the making the people sick and ill health of the people. These various factors are influenced for the malnutritional status. Those are poor dietary intake compared with the excessive energy expenditure for daily activities, poor purchasing power, low consumption of diversified food, early teenage pregnancies, poor knowledge on nutrition, self-hygiene plays an important role for both maternal health and for child health. But interventions in improving the women healthcare nutrition gained momentum only in 1998 when UNICEF alleged the reason for malnutrition in children as the main cause as maternal nutrition. The macronutrients program by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and supplementary health programs by Ministry of Women and Child Development are important stepping stones as far as the our country India is concerned in this aspect. I was fortunate to work with the important national health program in this aspect introduced by Government of India, reproductive, maternal, neonatal, child health care for a period of 3 years. Considering the COVID pandemic situation in the country, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare encouraged the stakeholders to use the digital platforms to celebrating the Poshan Month. I am happy that my parent office, Central University of Kerala, is also hosting a webinar to disseminate the knowledge and information about the importance of balanced nutrition in women. This webinar is introduced as an added feature to women empowerment activities initiated by our Women Center in our campus. And the Women Center have been doing an exceptionally good job in all the matters concerning the women health. I take this opportunity to felicitate all honorable allied speakers of this webinar. And I also request the viewers and the audience of the webinar to, especially the students of Central University of Kerala, to make use of the knowledge and ideas shared here and take it into their life so that the malnutrition or undernutrition of children in our campus is decreased. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am. It is with immense pride that I would like to welcome, on behalf of Central University of Kerala, Padma Shri Awardee, former Director CFTRI Mysore and Distinguished Scientist of CSIR, Dr. V. Prakash, to deliver the keynote address. Welcome, sir.
Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. A very good morning to all of you on this very special occasion of the national, webinar. And in fact, it should have been seminar, but because of COVID, it is webinar at CUK. And I'm very proud that we are addressing a very important agenda today. Dear Professor Venkateshwarlu, Vice Chancellor of CUK, Dr. Rajendran, the Scientist and Registrar of CUK, the honorable members of the National Commission for Women who have supported this very important webinar, Professor Govind Rao and Dr. Arati Nair, and of course, Dr. Supriya, all the three, along with Rajendran, gave wonderful message, as you heard them all, into this important topic in their felicitations and inaugural as well as the introductory messages. Dr. Chitra Manisari, who corresponded with me relentlessly for all the logistics, and Dr. Jayalakshmi and Dr. Aparna, who are going to really compare and moderate along with Chitra in this session. Dear deans, dear professors, and all the faculties of CUK, and very, very importantly, my dear students of this wonderful university. And also, I see on the list some of the erstwhile colleagues of mine, both from CSR and CFTRI. Especially, I see Dr. G. Murali Krishna. It's very nice to see him join us in this very important session on nutrition, because he was formerly in CFTRI in the Department of Biochemistry and Nutrition. My nutrition friends across the country and also around the globe, perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, relevance to today's topic is important in the girls and boys. The reason I'm very passionate about this subject is it is not only a subject that is being dealt for a long time, but it continues to be dealt on a way in which people understand. And therefore, it is my congratulations to CUK in organizing this. And it is also important that the subject is very, very thought-provoking. Why women's nutrition matters. And I think the Center for Women's Studies and CUK, in coordination with the National Commission for Women, have thought it right that this month, being the real Prime Minister's overarching dream of Poshan Abhiyan Ma. And I think it is not only 1 month or 1 week or 1 day. I think nutrition is sunrise to sunset. And again, nutrition works from sunset to sunrise. So nutrition is 24/7, 365 days. You can't think nutrition, I will have nutrition today, tomorrow I don't have. No. So perpetual hard work from each one of us. Each one of us, I would like to emphasize that, is very important throughout our life till we breathe, the last breath of our life. And therefore, our Honorable Prime Minister has rightly said, Abhiyan, in terms of reaching everybody. It is not the rich, not the poor, not the men, not the underprivileged only, but very importantly, everybody at every age, from pediatrics to geriatrics. And it is important that the focus on this year's theme, as you know, in the National Nutrition Week and National Nutrition Month, is, quote, feeding smart right from start. A very nice thing. Feeding smart right from start. So where is that start? Depends upon the income. If it is short in terms of the total life of a person, then it will never start sometimes because of poverty, economic impoverishment, and many other things, diseases, and so on and so forth. So I think feeding starts from the mother. The first immunity dose is not the COVID vaccine that you get. You get that immunity dose from the mother as the child is born. That's why it is very important to encourage breastfeeding for the first 6 months without any other food being given, because this is the immune dose that the child gets for lifelong. So therefore, what a nature it is has made this. This is a wonderful opportunity also for us to bring in awareness to girls and women, and also the awareness in children. I consider that as very important at school, and focusing on why women's nutrition matters. And therefore, in doing so, I would also say that it Why it matters, but indeed, a question that should not be lingering forever. I consider women's nutrition matters very much. And it matters so much that there cannot be any time during the day where it does not happen. So let us examine many aspects of the journey of a girl child all the way to an adult. Perhaps one thing to me is very clear. If you educate a girl child with the knowledge of nutrition, the basic knowledge in whatever she can understand, let us say a middle school or a high school girl, you know what you are doing? Why you say women's nutrition matters very much? That young girl will look after herself because she's already aware at the age of 10 or 12 what nutrition is and how can it benefit her. But more importantly, as she grows and she becomes a mother, she now takes the nutrition knowledge to the family. Mr. Rajendran mentioned that. But I go one step forward. When she becomes a grandmother, she spreads that entire knowledge of nutrition to her entire huge family. And you see the number of years, almost 80 to 90 years. You teach a young girl nutrition. It's a 90 years guaranteed performance of the child to take care of their family and their surroundings, their neighbors, their friends, and so on and so forth. It may be through an NGO organization, maybe through many other ways. I think it is so important. It could be about 10 hours of nutrition knowledge to that girl. But that takes care of almost 90 years of nutrition spreading and protecting the family. What can be better than that? What can be better than that? No exams, no ranks, everybody is equal. And that is the beauty of making this girl know nutrition. But in earlier days, traditional wisdom, traditional practices went on in mother teaching the daughter teaching her daughter, and the family was in terms of a women-centric families, with, of course, they also take care of their husbands, they also take care of their sons and the expanding family and the entire fraternity and community and society at large. So therefore, no wonder this is such an important subject. And today we have gathered here to address a few points. And a keynote address is only the beginning of a 2-day program that you have set apart very well. I saw the program and it's so well structured. I congratulate the organizers. Since no keynote address will be directional unless there is a focus on title. Otherwise, we will drift like a boat without a rudder, and we will touch every point but won't be focused. So therefore, my focused broad topic of the keynote address would be food, nutrition, and health, with the focus of why women's nutrition matters. With that is the focus underpinning, but let us look at that from the point of food and nutrition and health with a clear pathway of how really this health and society and health and a family both will drive to a healthy nation. Of course, on women's nutrition, which is a very broad national webinar, many things are included. This is empowerment of women, which is respect to women, and also the point of hearing the wonderful knowledge that the woman has, both from her family, her society, her tradition, her wisdom. So you have a huge information that is being carried, and therefore no wonder that we will focus on food, nutrition, and health with a focus on women's nutrition that will matter to all of us. But a word about COVID at this time, especially in the country Even now, many people are of the feeling that COVID is almost gone, but I think it is there. And it is not that easy to get rid of it. It's a virus. It's a very tough virus. But the entire globe, not only India, entire globe has passed through this very, very unprecedented and very difficult time. And never before this magnitude in the recent 100 years that every human has suffered in one way or the other. The pandemic has shaken up the systems that were all established and people were moving comfortably. But the entire thing got a shock. But the three things, even COVID or non-COVID human has been able to, in terms of reaching out, whether somebody is affected with COVID or somebody is not affected with COVID. Three things are important. Number one is air. Number two is water. And number three is food. Food means in the bracket, I have to put nutrition. So just imagine, air, water, and food is a perpetuality sustainable nature's gift that is very, very difficult to replace. And the body depends upon it. And this whole thing, the virus alters it and makes it very complicated for the doctors and the frontline workers to treat it. But however, a country like India has a large diversity of food, has a large biodiversity of food, and therefore ultimate survival of the species, whether it is ocean species or land species, and the humans, race itself really depends upon the entire quality of air, water, and food. My deepest sympathies and salutations to all the medical practitioners, especially I mentioned Dr. Arati Nair, who is the medical officer of Central University of Kerala. You must be really very busy in tackling all the issues every day. Our salutes to you and your teamwork that really keep the CUK healthy. But we have to remember those who could not make to the other side of the river or the ocean have been lost in this battle forever. And therefore, it is important that the historical point of science coming to our rescue in these times of COVID is unbelievable, unbelievable. Never in the history of humankind a vaccine has been able to reach the hand of a person within 1 year of the virus being attacking. So therefore, we have hopes that science, technology, and research would take us forward in this line. In going quickly in the remaining part of my time, I would like to really focus on not only food, but convergence of food and nutrition, and how the way we need to progress in this. I would divide my talk into about 8 or 10 areas, such as nature's cycle of energy, modern food science and nutrition knowledge to strengthen women empowerment in the knowledge of nutrition, and lessons from traditional foods and traditional knowledge in India's food from home to hospitality, and how divergence of food knowledge and nutrition science has made a sustainable nutrition a reality. Nutrition and the food science have been driven to a food technology level, and without nutrition knowledge and without food science knowledge, you can't have a technology. And ultimately, a very important point is our gut, which is the alimentary canal, the stomach and everything. That requires nutrition. That is the inner real system where the nutrition absorption takes place. So we need to treat it respectfully. We need to really make sure that it is taken care. But all this is possible with innovation. That is my 8th concept. And lastly, the integration of a holistic approach of nutrition for the welfare of society. And how do you really carry that knowledge to the next generation? And therefore, I will go quickly one by one with a focus on food system. Food is taken for granted. And I would like any one of you as a challenge, can you make a grain of rice? Whatever facility is given unlimited funding, can you make a grain of rice without using soil, without using a plant? Can you synthesize in the tons, millions of tons? So therefore, food is taken for granted, but unfortunately, it is continued to be taken for granted, and the farming industry, which is the farmer who is a half an acre farmer, is also taken for granted. And we have no capacity to grow food in the urban areas, and we depend upon the rural and the farmer to grow and give it to us. And therefore, we should be really thankful to the farmer who grows our food and gives it to us. Even for the love of money, if you don't have food to buy, you can't buy food even if you have tons of money. So therefore, it is important. But India stands number one in the world in many, 30% of listed agricultural products like dairy, eggs, fruits and vegetables, spices, for which Kerala is very well known, millets and pulses, and of course, fisheries. So therefore, what a gift that we have got from nature. We should be ever grateful to nature for this. And also good drinking water, the resilience in the system of agriculture, as well as the traditional knowledge of how to use paddy to convert to rice, different kinds of rice in this country, 3,000 varieties and species, whether it is raw paddy, wheat or maize, whatever it is so important to integrate the whole system into value addition and boost the rural economy and farm income. Why do I say this? It is only when we boost the rural economy, we are empowering the women there who can really make a difference in the family nutrition. And therefore, unless we empower it economically, just knowledge itself doesn't really take too long to really achieve the goal. Therefore, it is very important when we look at nature's cycle of energy. Food really symbolizes the symbiosis of life, Prakriti, which is nature, and the activity and a holistic sequence of balance of synchrony of the well-orchestrated total movement of the entire grains, fruits and vegetables, meat, fish and poultry and spices, and that's where we are in today. Therefore, whether we take dairy products, and India, of course, is number one producer of milk with 200 million tons of milk per year, it is amazing how we have done it. And therefore, it is important. And India also is 70% of the world's spices. When somebody eats a spicy food anywhere in the world, India is there. And who is responsible for that? That women, that woman who worked there, cared the plant like a child with love, compassion, and nutrition to the plant also. So therefore, it is that operation with the capsule of energy is passed from one person to the other. And when we look at food science and a product that you have in the market, it may be a cauliflower, it may be a pepper that is grown as a viper in the Kerala forest, or it may be a traditional Ayurvedic food that is well documented over centuries and that is being eaten today. What is that composed of, that particular food XYZ? It has a lot of food science in it. It has chemistry in it. It has the agriculture and love of the farmer, both the women farmers and also the men folk. They all love their plants. They have touched it with love. So the love is there. Microbiology. Of course, a human and animal nutrition is embedded in it. And the process parameters of engineering to make it in large scale, combinatorial chemistry, very important. Without chemistry, it is very difficult to understand what is happening. Sensorial science of the mouth. It should be tasty too at a molecular level. And capacity building, like students and teachers like yourself, myself, and the entire student community. All of them are tomorrow's teachers. And of course, this is where there is a big gap. And I think very seldom we say that you make your career in this. But I think it is very important for a university like CUK to emphasize the importance. That okay, I continue?
Yes, sir.
There is some disturbance. Okay.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
So it is important for you to communicate with your students. Please take teaching profession as the most important profession in your life because it gives joy. It is very sacrificial. It generates knowledge, sharing knowledge, caring for people, and building real life systems for a student. And the teacher ultimately, not only is just a teacher and taught in the class, the teacher becomes a guru the whole life. Many of my students whom I have guided for PhD in 1980 are still in touch with me. And that's amazing. So that symbiotic relationship between the teacher and the taught can take many things in the right direction. So therefore, positioning the advantage of India in traditional foods in the nutrition should not be forgotten. It has resilience, sustainability, nutrition bank. It is a nutrition bank itself. And which is of course driven by a woman. Who is the CEO of this traditional knowledge? The woman. Because she has learned from her mother, her grandmother, etc. But of course, nowadays the lifestyles have changed. Both the husband and wife are working in the kitchen. And I'm glad this should slowly get going so that the whole family is a nutrition bank knowledge carrying forward their knowledge to their offspring and in turn to their grandchildren, to the neighborhood, to the greater society and to the nation. So therefore, positioning 15,000 years of knowledge of traditional wisdom and knowledge in terms of nutrition is simply amazing India. And this really baffles me. We have that much knowledge over 15,000 years. And today, I can tell you, this knowledge is all documented in CSIR, in traditional knowledge digital library. It is not only of nutrition and food and the various varieties that are being used, especially in different parts, in different regions, but also many other areas apart from food are also being covered in tradition, like traditional medicine and traditional plants used for various ailments in terms of specificity of the plant. And I think coming from God's own country, the CUK must really focus to understand the beautiful capacity of nutrition science in spreading not only as a food, but also as a holistic approach of medicine using the plant and microbial kingdom. Personalized food is another important one, and personalized food is not what you like, but what your body likes or how the body vibrates with a particular food. Very seldom we have time to spend in understanding the personalized food. We don't personalize food that easily. We eat whatever is served to us. So I think it is important. How do we personalize food? It's a dogma that I don't know how to personalize my food, but I think it is very important. In your whole long lifeline, maybe 90, 100 years, one has a lot of time to know which food really suits you. But of course, by taste-wise, many food you like and that's good, you enjoy. But there are certain food which are needed by the body, and nutrition plays a very major role there. Never before the population in the world talked about nutrition so much as of now in COVID. Everybody says, take this, take that to boost your immunity. Where does it come? It comes from sunlight, it comes from milk, it comes from eggs, it comes from fruits and vegetables. Many of the immune factors come from spices, and many other immune factors also come from a combination of foods. So therefore, nutrition has become the frontliner in fighting COVID in terms of immunity, which is natural immunity. But of course, we need to overprotect it because of the virulence of the virus, and therefore we do get vaccinated. But I think one need to continue to support the body with good nutrition, which is responsible for building an immunity lifelong. And therefore, it is vital for us to look at these things from a clear pathway of not only clean food, pure food, a safe food also. And of course, it has to be tasty in spite of a few ingredients which may not be so tasty but good for health. It should be also well balanced, easy to digest, and food should be interesting. And at the same time, individualized and personalized, healthy and nutritious, and that wellness of food. When I say wellness, it is not necessarily always that all food is looked at from a nutrition point. There are some food which gives you happiness, which makes you calm, which makes you really enjoy it from a level which is higher, which takes you into the next pathway of a kind of a nutrition that the brain needs. We always look at stomach as a food, but the brain also requires some molecules so that it can be sharp, it can be alert, and it can not really fail itself in memory, etc. So food is not only for health, but also for wellness, which is well defined. And of course, food has to be in sufficient quantity and quality. All these are related to affordability index, how much one can afford. So therefore, in totally looking at empowering women in nutrition, we should also empower women economically so that food can be affordable for the whole family. Because sometimes just one person, income may not be enough in terms of affordability index to buy the correct nutrition. It requires support. It requires for farmer the animal stock in terms of an ox or in terms of a chicken, which gives eggs, and a cow, which gives milk. So the farmer is not just land and plant. He is an integrated complex of the entire system of eco, of the land, animals, and what he nurtures together as a bigger family, apart from his family. So the whole family works together, not because they are not having money, but I tell you, not only the labor saving, but there is a happiness in working together. And whereas in the modern urban days, each one of us dissipate ourselves into different directions and again converge in the evening. But I think in a typical rural setup, this is a very different mechanism. And with fresh air and with the wonderful atmosphere they have with unpolluted, what more we need? So I think if we empower women in nutrition, we are going to learn more and more from that nutrition. And therefore, this takes me to the fifth area, that is ahara and arogya. There are no two thoughts about it, that nutrition is everyday venture, and the nutrition is given by food and not by one molecule. And you can't get vitamin D just by sunlight exposure for 15 minutes early in the morning. Vitamin D doesn't get synthesized immediately. There are many other molecules that get synthesized, and finally, one of the product is vitamin D. So therefore, the entire concept of general nutrition, focused nutrition, and precision nutrition, I would like to say, very important is precision nutrition, which has been defined centuries back. Probably when you look at industrialized nations, and the actionable dietary recommendation in those countries are all based on certain factors of economy. But in a country like India, where, for example, in the southern part of India and Karnataka, ragi is considered as a diabetic food. But the woman in the house in the rural knows how to make it as ragi ball. And the way it is eaten is swallowing ragi ball, not chewing in the mouth, because the amylase in the mouth will digest it. So whether you take ragi or rice, the amount of calories and sugar released is more or less same. So why So the habit, the tradition, the wisdom, all puts together in nutrition. Many times we only think nutrition is food, but nutrition is habit. But I also want to emphasize here that whatever you eat may not be fully reachable to all the parts of the body unless you have exercise to burn it, convert it into individual molecules, which then transport through the villi of intestine and goes to the body. If that is not done, whatever you eat may not be efficiently transcribed and transported and translated, the typical RNA, DNA language, into the cells of the body. Therefore, due exercise is very important. I'm eating very nutritious food, but why am I so thin? Why am I not putting on weight? A major worry for many people. That's because you are not burning. It is not getting absorbed. You may have enough protein, enough calories, and so on. So therefore, you may have more fat storage than protein to the different organs. So I think it is very important. The role of exercise is to be emphasized in good nutrition. That should never be undermined and taken for granted. Oh, I move around in the house and that is exercise. No, I think a rigorous exercise, depending upon the age, can be done for about half an hour or 40 minutes, which will make the body utilize what you have given it to the body. Otherwise, it may not be able to utilize everything, maybe a partial utilization. Therefore, when we look at immunity, I don't have to teach you immunity because Rajendran and his department would know whether the cytokine recognize the system and the virus goes through the macrophages, B cells and T cells, and the mature and dendrite cells all the way to lymph node, and the lymph is loaded with all these molecules to protect the body, then the excretion of antibodies, and then the total neutrality over the virus in terms of many of these platforms, in terms of the various naive T cells, and with the probiotics and also peptides from virus, which really can interfere with the spike protein and prevent it from moving forward. So therefore, it is this combination of combinatorial chemistry of food which goes and fights against it through natural immunity. And then the activated T cells really makes the fight and dispose it off into the body, out of the body. So what a mechanism. Even if you invent a machine, it will not be so efficient. You take the food, it converts what it needs, it drives off the enemy and throws the debris out also. So therefore, in the meantime, just like the, any office, you want a Xerox copy of it. So the body retains a Xerox copy of that through the B cell and make sure when the enemy comes back again, it will again attack. So therefore, this mechanism, simply sit for 10 minutes and imagine, to be appreciated, to be appreciated. That is the diversity in this convergence. And therefore, it is important that without nutrition, your internal immunity will deeply suffer. And whether you are taking every month a vaccine or every year, but I think the more sustainable one is to top it up. But the basic immunity must be with you, whatever is the age. We need to get that from food. And therefore, it is vital for me to move on. Can I go forward?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
So therefore, when we look at gut microbiome, where does the nutrition start with that? You have a great advantage of a fantastic way of looking at the nutrition from your taste point of view, from your brain point of view. But you have never really fed the stomach where the gut microorganisms, 9 trillion microbiomes are there, 5,000 to 8,000 species, divergence of resilience, and all that will convert the magic molecules that is needed by the body. So there's a big army there. And if you don't take care of them, it'll really be bad. Whatever you eat may not be. So it is vital Today's knowledge, just last year, November knowledge, 2020, the control of brain is in the gut. Amazing. Amazing. We have found a lot of signal transducers which are isolated, which sends a signal to the brain. The speed is that of electricity. So a couple of lakhs of miles a second, something you eat, the message goes to the brain and in turn. So it's amazing how this whole situation of a cycle of tongue, gut, and brain functions in a very cyclic approach at the speed of light. So I think that's why nutrition will make that happen. If you don't keep those microbiome in the gut happy, then my gut feeling is the health may be the sacrifice. So therefore, the gut feeling is to keep that gut microbiome happy, just like the soil microbiome for plants. So therefore, it is the microbiome that really matters in metabolism. And it's a new area, and ultimately, the major nutrition metabolites will be focused on that in terms of pre and probiotics and so on. A lot of work is going on, but we should not be in the other side of the road in research. That's why I'm mentioning this. My last but one point is innovation in research. It is important that if we don't have innovation in research that we are doing, of course, in a university like this, as Mr. Rajendran mentioned, you have a number of departments. So it is not, there is not much time to do research. You are very much busy in teaching, but one can always find time. One can always find time. If you have passion for research, you can always find time. And therefore, there the innovation comes into picture. In other words, how do you get this innovation done? In other words, with minimum resources, maximum output. What we need in a research is focused research, not a me too research. And therefore, that research has to be very limited area, but a very impactful one. And that's what makes a difference in the system. So therefore, on a day like this, each department in the university can think of a small problem that is related to nutrition, whatever you feel, with the resources you have. You don't have to write a project and wait for a large amount of money after 5 years or 3 years, but you can think within the resources what my department can do to nutrition, to reach the women, to empower the woman for nutrition. And that matters according to me. Why? Because a computer division is there. How can I do nutrition? Well, the computer division can make pamphlets in different languages locally to reach out. So it is going to be your initiative and innovation, what you can do with almost the resources that you have without asking for more. It is possible. Give a trial, and you will be amazed that it can be done. It can be done. Because normally we write a project and we wait for a few years, then no, the project cannot be funded, then you are disappointed. With this, there is no disappointment. You are taking a very small problem, a very tiny problem, which is burning in the society. You find. So societal reach out of research and its benefits, especially for the nutrition world, is fantastic. It's fantastic. And you don't have to patent it. You don't have to publish it. You have other things to publish. But here, you are giving back to society. What CUK can give back to societal mission? That's a separate compartment. Keep filling it. And that will be the richest compartment in knowledge over a period of time. So I call that the role of these small institutions. When I say small, I don't mean that you are a very small institution, but compared to global institutions, we deal with billions of dollars. Some of our universities and research institutes are very small in budget. But I can tell you, it does not matter. It is the brain power that matters. One, this is unlimited, right? That is unlimited. Nobody can stop you. And therefore, it is important that we commit ourselves on this day in terms of making sure that we reach out to the cottage industry, women industry in the village, Many times it is a single woman industry, and like a banana plate being made by impregnation of heat. It's just morning, evening, one woman will be working and she will spend 2 hours and make 100 plates and she will get about 50 rupees in the evening. Amazing contribution to eco-friendly packaging. Nowhere in the world this is happening. It's happening in India. Very seldom we are being really seen as eco-friendly packagers. I'm not talking about the urban situation. I'm talking about the rural. And I think we have a lot of things to really do. Lastly, I would like to focus on creating branding in nutrition. Because in nutrition, it is not the branding means a packaged material, or this is very nutritious, please eat. The branding comes, what I call, from a woman. Where does it come? It comes from GMT. What is GMT? It's not Greenwich Mean Time. It is grandmother's touch. When you are all children, your grandmother has given you something. It was always tasty. But when you grow up, you slowly miss that and nobody is able to reproduce that. So I think capturing those traditional knowledges, the process of making a sweet, maybe the process of making a dish was very different the way your grandmother did, the way the current situation is done. So therefore, an example is for a growing girl in Kerala, the red rice is being given many times at an appropriate age because it is very rich in iron. And this is a custom and tradition. And why this is sustainable locally, and also it is very rich in iron, and at the same time, that is a time when the girl requires a large quantity of iron, which is metabolizable. And therefore, it is so important that knowledge was with my grandmother, your grandmother, and everybody's grandmother. But of course, with today's family being nucleated, we are going to have a different situation, but I think it is very important. We dig out this and try to see how food matrix and how it will help our society in going through. I'll wind up my talk with a point. Many times this is being asked to me as the Vice President of the International Union of Nutrition Science. Is fat good to me? Is oil good to me? Is salt okay for me? Is sugar okay for me? These are 3-4 questions perpetually asked by everybody. What the present generation does, I don't want fat and oil, I become fat. So I don't want to eat it at all. So there is a rejection to maintain slim and trim figure. Salt. No, salt will cause blood pressure, stroke, heart problem. I want to lessen my salt. When it comes to sugar, there is always a bargain. I think a little bit sugar is okay. I will manage it. So the 3 points about this is, oils and fats are absolutely essential for the growth of the body. Don't starve your body of oils and fat. Then your cranial system will collapse. It needs oils and fats every day, almost to the tune of 25-30 grams. But of course, I've already told you, you need to exercise. Very important, don't starve the body, because you want to cut down on ghee, you want to cut down on oil. And you know, coconut oil was branded as bad. And today the whole world is looking at coconut oil, especially virgin coconut oil, as a fantastic oil. So who won? My grandmother won. Your grandmother won. So science is there, but it is very important for us to use that science in not depriving the body because we are knowledgeable. The body cannot beg and ask. It cannot go and pick up oil. You have to pick up. So salt, 2.5 grams of salt from sodium to 5 grams of salt is minimum essential for the body. You can't deprive body of salt. Try for 1 month without eating sodium. You are in hospital with an intravenous system put onto you because of mineral imbalance. So don't deprive body because you are knowledgeable about science, knowledgeable about the nutrition. I think the body requires. Drink water when you are thirsty. But if you drink 5 liters of water because somebody told you, you are loading your body for throwing it out. So therefore, it is very important. Don't starve your body of major nutrients like protein, oils and fats, salt, but at moderation. Very important to remember moderation. Once in a way, you can break the rule, you can exceed it, but you have to come back to normality and do it. Last one is sugar. Very, very much has been told about sugar. It is important to realize that we say, I will avoid sugar, but you will get sugar in fruits. You will get sugar in many vegetables. You have natural sugars that are coming in. So body has a way to get things done through food-based approach. You may not have crystal sugar being used to your system, but body takes the sugar what it needs. Whether it's glucose, fructose, lactose from milk, there are many other sugars which ultimately get converted into glucose and fructose and others. So therefore, it is important to respect our body nutrition, where we think that the body doesn't know anything, it will get only when we eat. But a food, when you eat an apple, you get a large number of other nutrients, which you may not even know, like nutraceuticals. So the basic nutrients of protein, fats, carbohydrates, and also vitamins and minerals are not just nutrients, they are the basic nutrients. But there are other things that need to go along with it. And therefore, many times to reduce calories, I don't want to eat rice. You know, whom are you punishing? You are punishing your microbiome in the stomach. They are craving for rice or wheat, and you prevent it, they are starving and they die. One species is gone. You take an antibiotic, several species are gone. To revive it, you take several months. So therefore, the body is made up of a fine system, a delicate balance. And I think it is this, I personally always feel the woman is more knowledgeable about many of us. So empower her knowledge and make sure that knowledge goes forward. In doing so, continue your research in whatever minimum way you can do. And I would like to quote Madame Curie on this very important day of Women's Nutrition Matters, ? Why? Marie Curie said, quote, with the love of research, more knowledge and intelligence cannot make a scientist. With the love of research, everything is made. Now you remove love of research and mere intelligence, mere hard work, mere knowledge won't take you anywhere. So love research. But in a university, as a teacher, I also feel love teaching. And teaching is very important. Teaching refines you. The first class that you ever took in your life, even today you remember, you're shivering. So many students, smarter than you think. But then slowly you gain their confidence, you gain their love, you gain their affection, and you are one amongst them. And they remember you throughout life. Not by name, by initial, SRK, KPW, something like that. And they in their alumni talk lifelong about it. So it is important that we need to really look at nutrition as a bridge of love and happiness. And therefore, no wonder when our Honorable Prime Minister said, Poshan Abhiyan, Ma, and you took up this subject today to address it in terms of it matters to educate women in nutrition. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I appreciate your initiative, and I hope you were able to get some points what I said, even though I could have gone very technical in my talk, but due to the constraint of time, it is not necessary to go in every talk in a webinar like this. But I think if I have kindled your interest in certain subjects, which you can take it forward, I'll be the most happy person. And make sure at the end of the day, when all of us retire, we come back to our family. And what does the family gives us? It gives us love and affection. And continue to nurture that family as you nurture your youngest child or your youngest brother or sister, all the way to the eldest grandmother or grandfather or great-grandfather or great-grandmother. I think we keep learning. Have an ear for hearing and make sure, even if it is a 2-year-old child, hear what it says. maybe there is a lesson there. So we need to be good listeners. And I thank you for listening me for these 45, 50 minutes with all your patience. And I appreciate the wonderful initiation you have taken. May I wish you all the best in your career, and especially women-empowered nutrition is going to make a lot of difference in this country, and India can do that. We have this strong tradition, wisdom, scientific tools, and at the same time, a fantastic support system of the government. And I think we are in the right place at the right time, and we can contribute. Thank you very much. I wish all the best for the Central University of Kerala at Kasaragod, and a great place. And I always consider Kasaragod as a very eco-friendly place. And I think selection of that place is fantastic to put an university there. And I think it's great. You are lucky to be there. You are lucky to be there. Thank you. All the best. May God bless you and wish you all the best and a very, very healthy life all the way. And take care. The best of you. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Myself, Chitra Manishwari. Thank you for the very fascinating, informative, and thought-provoking lecture, concentrating on food, nutrition, and health based on the main theme, why women's nutrition matters. Thank you. And now the session is open for discussion, and the participants, you can post your queries to Dr. V. Prakash in the chat box.
Somebody is going to moderate, I believe. That is important.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll be moderating.
Yeah. Okay. If there are no questions from the youngsters, I will be asking some questions to them. Okay.
Yeah, there is a query from.
No, just summarize
Krishna.
the query.
Yeah, the question is, sir, is it possible to make campus canteens and other workplace canteens or cafeterias at least like a grandmother's kitchen?
Mr. Krishna, this is a question that you should post to your registrar who is sitting there. Not to me, because I can say do it, but he has to have money, he has to have employees, he has to get some knowledge of cooking and so on. It's a good suggestion. Try how it works. But remember one thing, you need to really make sure that whatever you do is sustainable. Very important. And in an office time, how much you can really do that. So it's a good suggestion. Consider introducing some dishes which are traditional and then see how it goes. So don't jump into opening up something and then closing it. That will be disaster. So in the same system, introduce some traditional food. Maybe some people don't like it, what to do. So it depends. So it should be a multiplicity of many foods in a common canteen. And what people like in a short time to eat is important. So it's a good suggestion. I'm sure registrar has already noted it down and he will do his best. Yeah,
Sure,
thank
sir,
you.
sure.
Yeah,
We'll bring it into the discussion. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. You know how innovative thinking our youngsters
Yes,
are.
it's
Fantastic.
a good question,
Fantastic.
actually. A good question.
Yeah. Good.
So as you said, the sustainability is important. That's
Very important. Very important. Yeah, what is the next question?
Yeah, there is another question from Mr. Nilofer Ilyaskuti. That nutrition bank, can you highlight, sir? Nutrition bank.
No, when I say bank, it is not currency notes. When I say bank, it is knowledge. Knowledge, okay? So if you talk to your mother, or if you talk to your elder sister, or a neighbor, elderly woman, and talk about some dish, whatever it is, put two, you can talk. In India, there are more than 30, 35 different types of idlis, basically. So the knowledge that the previous generation had was imbibed from the other previous generation. So you'll get a lot of information. Sometimes you find why this particular idli is so fantastic. It is like a flower, so soft, but so tasty. But when I do it, I don't get it. So then you need to talk to some people, hear them, and that's what I call nutrition bank. And they will say, you need to eat it in the morning. You can't eat it in the evening. Why? It has a certain amount of gas producing in intricate raw material, which will not allow you to sleep well. So it is important how it has to be consumed, with what it has to be consumed. Alone it cannot be eaten. If I give you a piece of idli and ask you to eat it, you can't eat it. You need something with it, right? You need something. You need a curry, maybe you need a chutney, you need a sambar. Look at the combination of this with not only nutrition, but taste. So that's what I call a nutrition knowledge bank. And that is, it's lifelong. You know, you go to a hotel, whatever may be the hotel, you eat something, you love it. Have you called the cook and said, I loved it, thank you so much? Nobody would have called him or her, whoever it is. Have you told that to your grandmother? So therefore, many times we take it for granted, this knowledge. This knowledge has come down from her grandmother. So 200 years of knowledge you are eating today. That is the bank, I said. That bank has no CEO. It has no currency. It only gives. So that is the concept that I have given you. But you can do that yourself. You can be very shortly doing it for yourself, your family, the society. And that is women's empowerment. And that doesn't mean the men folks have to keep quiet. Men have also to coordinate and enter the nutrition world more than apart from implementation. I think it is important to remember every breakfast, every lunch, every dinner that we eat, before eating, we must remember how many children are going to bed, how many women are going to bed without food today. Then you can't eat your food. You get nauseated. For no fault of them, they are starving. Either it is because of floods, or it is because of an earthquake, or because of poverty, because of many other reasons. So please remember, this nutrition bank is not only a bank, but it is a fantastic compassion bank. I would label it that. So not only nutrition bank, but nutrition compassion bank. If you have that compassion, things will work. And that's what our Honorable Prime Minister is always emphasizing. Give it back to society. Give it back to society. Thank you. Can we move on to the next one?
Yeah, Ms. Tanya Saha has posted another question. How much woman nutrition matters for upcoming generation?
Oh, it is unlimited. It is unlimited. Because why do you want to put a limit for yourself? So because if I say only I will give you this much knowledge, go away. That's not correct. It is unlimited. What you need is, I told you about a 12-year-old girl who takes care of her own nutrition, and as a mother, she takes care of the family. As a grandmother, she takes care of much more bigger family. So therefore, the knowledge that one gives is only igniting the interest and igniting the total, the knowledge bank that you are igniting. Afterwards, she herself will take up. And or himself will take it up. It's up to. So therefore, you know what happens when you really empower a woman with knowledge of nutrition? You're not only enriching her, but enriching the whole family. Yes, she will talk to her children. She will talk to her husband. And in turn, he will talk to somebody else. Amazing transmission without a mobile phone. So therefore, it is zero cost. Zero cost. Can you have a more sustainable system of communication? And that's why it is very important. So, but first comes family. That's very important. Yes, we move on to next.
There is a question from Dr. Dilip Divakar. Is there any data source which is available to assess the changes in nutritional status among women during COVID-19?
Well, there are so many work that is going on now because this has just started a year and a half back, and it's not going to be that easy to publish a paper. And it's a lifelong situation sometimes to do Just like the vaccines have been cleared by phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trial, nutritional status is very complicated. The reason is an individual gets COVID, but her or his nutritional status before getting COVID, nobody has measured really, and there is no paper. This is the nutritional status of that person. After COVID, so many things happen. So what are the changes? So it is very difficult. But a lot of this post-COVID care has come out with nutrition for recovery, especially the fibrosis in lungs and so on. There is always a way to make it happen by really involving the person, not only in the habits of breathing, but also in the habit of consumption of the right kind of food, where he or she gains enough strength back. So it is a very ongoing process. There is no mantra that can be there. These are the mantras that you have to adopt in the post-COVID patient, but in a generic way. You always require much more protein. You always require a little bit more energy, and you need a breathing habit to make your lungs stronger and so on. So these are generic. But let me tell you, the whole world is working now. The whole world is working, not just India. India is doing a tremendous contribution, but the whole world is working in this area. Pre and preventive nutrition for COVID and post-COVID recovery nutrition. So these are all very important. And I think it has given us, a threat has given us an opportunity to work more. And that means it's a 24/7 job. And we need to really work hard, and a lot more to be learned in this. And again, the gene of a person, the genetic resource that he has at his disposal of the body has to be. Somebody may have morbidity like diabetes, so his reaction or her reaction will be quite different. And therefore, these are all complicated situations, but we can generate generality by database. Thank you, and that's a good question. A lot of work needs to be done.
Another
We have a question from Gina.
Yes,
yeah. I got the question. I read that. Okay. So, see, nutritional education in families to nutrition education in schools or curricula. It is not two different things. It is like a train track, two tracks, only the train can go. Why? At home, it is very important to imbibe nutrition into the game of eating. But at school, you know yourself, a child will always follow the teacher, because the child thinks that in front of other friends, that if she doesn't know or he doesn't know an answer, it is a very embarrassing situation in the class. At home, you are with your family, and you say, I don't want to eat ghee. No, ghee is important. It develops brain. It smoothens the nerves and arteries. No, I don't worry about all. Say, I don't want to eat ghee. But the teacher says, have you taken your 1 spoon of ghee today? Immediately, the student says, yes. The person might not have taken, but she will say or he will say yes. But then she will come back home and ask the mother, can I have a spoon of ghee? Why? What happened? My teacher told me. Teacher told me to have 1 spoon of ghee. So some things work from home, some things work from school. Your question is very good, Gina. In terms of both are important. So nurture nutrition at home and translate that nutrition in school. And that will be very impressive. I'm sure you remember your middle school and high school teachers who have taught you something, and that is never forgotten. But you will also remember your mother teaching you something. You will also not forget. Father is also important. And for example, the father goes for a long walk. He is an empathy in terms of walking because he wants to maintain his health. That is also equally important in the nutrition education. So the child sees the father going for a walk. Sometimes the mother and father go together. It's all important. So it is a holistic approach of life. The lifestyle, the knowledge from home and the knowledge from school all have to converge. And I said converging nutrition. That is very important. Okay. We are maybe going short of time according to your timetable. So you need to select questions, Chitra, now. It's good to select questions, and other things you can
Yes,
always
sir.
reply. Yeah.
There are a couple of questions. If we have time, we'll have these 2 questions, sir. Otherwise,
No, we can take up, no problem.
okay.
But I would request all the people to post the final question in the next 1 minute, and afterwards we should really continue this dialogue at a later time. But at this point, everybody is involved. And what is that question from Ashwati? Is it nutrition of women catches attention only during some stages of life, like pregnancy, later stage? So they want to uphold them to caregivers. And under such social scenario, what is your personal? Well, social scenario is very important. Social scenario is a local system. It need not be a global problem. It is a local problem, and we need to vibrate perfectly in that. For example, the traditional way of eating food at home together has a really different way of concept. Each one of the family members eating at different time has made a lot of difference in the nutrition status, because that is very important to eat at least 1 meal a day together. I know you can't eat breakfast and lunch and all together. At least 1 meal a day together, because that's where you share the knowledge, you share the food, and some in that. So what the mother or the grandmother or even father sometimes cooks nowadays does is add a little bit less salt so that everybody can eat. Those who want a little bit more salt can add a little bit more salt in their own plate. So there is customization and personalization of food. You will observe that very closely, very closely. So I think it is a good idea that all these are social system takes care, but very important to care for the needy. As I always said, that economic situation is the one that really can make a difference for a poor family to give enough nutrition. But at the same time, the lifestyle also is changing very rapidly. All the youngsters have to really look at the later part of their life. Today, you may be healthy, you are running around, you can eat anything, you can digest anything. But comes the age of 50, your parts will start slowing down. 60, you have complications and so on. So how am I going to prevent all that? Delay the disease. Whereas pregnancy is something which is a very short 9 months period, and in that huge demand of nutrition. So the whole family is focused on that person. If that focus is not there, the person is devoid of iron, devoid of certain minerals, and therefore there is a problem of nutrition being not enough for the fetus. Because anyway, the fetus doesn't care for the mother. It takes whatever nutrition the mother has, everything it sucks in. So the mother has to be replenished with nitrogen, with proteins, everything. Otherwise the baby cannot grow. So it is important for us to realize that special time of pregnancy and when the mother feeds the child, those are the times for recovery for her and supply to the child. And what a great nature has created that. You are right. But afterwards, there are other situations of educating men. You have rightly said, in terms of what you want to say, Ashwati. This is happening. This is happening, especially in husband and wife working family. The demand comes to the husband also, to the men folk. Hey, why don't you do this? Cut the vegetables or whatever it is. Slowly, the men folks are getting involved. But it is important to realize that ultimately, the food and mother are always related. From time immemorial, any country you go, any nation, food and mother, because the first food the baby had from mother. And therefore, that umbilical cord of love, affection, and the symbolism of food, that can never be broken. Father is important, I agree, but that when a mother touches food, it is with love and affection. The taste will increase, but you don't know how it increases. The mother has an eyes to give that food to the child. She loves that child. She gives with love and affection. That's why. I don't say men don't have affection and love, but the point is he's a wage earner, money earner, he has so many other problems. But I think it's a mutual. In the modern days, it is very different story. The importance of women's nutrition should always be a priority. And that will remain as a priority for the nations. And it's slowly changing. That's very good. We are in the right track, but it takes a long time. Please remember, nutrition is not a magic capsule. It's an everyday business. Every day. You cannot have nutrition today and not have tomorrow. You have to have every day. And different nutrients, of course, not the same. Because some of them, like fat-soluble vitamins, can be stored in the body. But water-soluble vitamins go away. So you need to really look at that knowledge. And that's what we are calling empowering. And that's why your topic is so important. Why women's nutrition matters. Yes, it matters because the lifelong nutrition for the family. Very important. Thank you for that question.
There is a last question from Dr. Bhageshwari. Could we modify our public distribution system to reorient the services towards addressing nutrition inequality?
Yeah, public distribution system, PDS we call it, is for reaching out for those who cannot afford with different grains, especially rice, wheat, flour, etc., etc. But what is important is ultimately, it is not the changing the public distribution. Bhageshwari, I want to ask this question back to you. Why do you want to modify it? Because you like it? There must be some reason to modify. What is wrong happening in that? You may say it is not reaching them and so on. That will happen with any system, right? So noon meal in India, 14 crore children are getting at 12 o'clock a meal. Maybe it requires some more nutrition. That's fine. We are adding it. But nowhere else in the world, 14 crore children get a noon meal in the school. So we want to change the system now. But the question is, what is the better system? Have you tried it? We have tried this for almost now 35 years and it's working. But it is now made more nutritious with many things. There's a deworming that the child goes through. There's an iron tablet and so on. But ultimately, it is very important for us to, as I want to change the system. But then the question is, can you look at the same system and make it better? So therefore, India is quite good in these things. And we need to modify. Why? We need to make it much more nutrition with a variety of foods. On the variety of foods, we can make it more nutritious, and it's possible. But it is also possible that if you bring knowledge into their focus, then apart from public distribution system, everything cannot be given on a platter, right? So the person also buys something. On a PDL, it is not the final cooked meal that is going. Please remember, it is the grains that are going. And therefore, the person has to really buy vegetables and cook and so on. So the right choice of vegetables. 2 days in a week, leafy vegetables. So these are the kind of empowerment we are talking. And therefore, what systems that are going on for the time being should really continue, and one can always modify over a period of time. It requires different phases of trials. Trial 1, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and make sure that everything is in place. It is not so easy. It is not so easy. And any one of you should really work in a midday meal cooking centers, community centers. You spend 1 year in a day there. 1 year, 1 day. You spend the whole day. You will realize the logistic problems. The vegetables have to come in. The rice has to come in from Food Corporation of India. And, the wheat, if it is an area where chapati is eaten or roti is eaten, for the North Karnataka, it's a different kind of jawar roti. Those logistics have to come in. 3 to 4 lakhs meals are cooked in big vessels, which is like a factory. Then the cooking starts at 2 o'clock in the morning. The vegetables is cut at 1 o'clock. And then by 7 o'clock, the van leaves to the school and delivers there by 11 o'clock. 3 hours, 100 kilometers away. It reaches 20 schools on its way. And the van is totally insulated with racks for vessels. Nobody in the world has done that. Nobody in the world has done this. India has done this. We should be really proud for India. So therefore, it is very important when we talk of PDS also. There are some loopholes everywhere. Where there is no loophole, there's always there. Setting it aside, correcting it. But I think we should really put a rich nutrition diet by whatever we are doing. I would like you to, those who are really asking this kind of food, I also see the next question on fortification. And, traditional food itself is a very rich food. To fortify it and making it complicated may not be. You need to understand by wisdom and tradition, combination of foods that come. Combinatorial effect of food itself is nutrition and variety. So why do you want to fortify it further unless there are some? You can fortify with food. Food-based approach fortification is sustainable. It is sustainable. If you want a little bit more fat in the diet, use grated coconut on the top of it. It gives you enough of virgin coconut oil to keep your brain going. So I think it is important. We can't assume that we know everything today and want to change everything. You have to ask the question why it should be changed. By itself, it is good. But if there is a lacuna in that, one can always modify it and make sure the right kind of thing. But in fortification, if the taste changes, it's impossible. It's impossible to make people eat when they are used to certain taste. It's impossible. So you need to be very careful in the taste. Food is very personal, very personal. And therefore, if that personality has to be agreed to, it has to be touched at the right spot and make sure that is done. So it's a challenge, good suggestion, but a challenge. Try in your own home. You do upma one day, you try to add something a little bit, which is different because you feel nutritionally it is good. Maybe your children and husband will say, I don't like this. Or they may like it, you don't know. So try at your home. Home is the biggest factory in the world, right? The kitchen. The number of kitchens in the world is the biggest factory in the world totally put together. So try innovation, and that's how life goes on. But keep the tradition, keep the traditional food, and innovate new things. One is gold and the other is silver. A combination of gold and silver makes an ornament, right? And copper. So everything is required in a mineral form. So therefore, I thank you for giving this opportunity. Good question. May not be able to answer all of them to your satisfaction. But I've just given you an overall view for you to, and there can be a lot more on that. Thank you very much for that opportunity.
Once again, thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful session. And personally, I would like, it was so nice to hear you and meet you online after my CFTRI days. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would now like to welcome Dr. Jayalakshmi Rajiv, Assistant Professor and Head in Charge, Department of Public Health and Community Medicine, Central University of Kerala, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Abarna. Very respected Vice Chancellor, Central University of Kerala, Professor H. Venkateshwarlu, in absentia, Dr. Rajendra Pilangata, Registrar in Charge, Central University of Kerala, and Head Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. Today's Chief Guest, Padma Shri Dr. V. Prakash, Distinguished Scientist of CSRI and former Director of CFTRI Mysore, Professor Govinda Rao, Dean, School of Biological Sciences, Dr. Arathi Nair, Medical Officer, Central University of Kerala, Dr. Supriya P., Coordinator, Center for Women Studies, and Assistant Professor, Department of Hindi and Comparative Literature, Dr. Ashwati R. Nair, Associate Professor, Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, and Joint Convener of the webinar, Dr. Chitra Manisheri, Assistant Professor, Department of Plant Science and Joint Convener of the webinar. Dear members of the Advisory Committee, Center for Women Studies, and dear colleagues and my dear participants. A very good afternoon to one and all. Before moving on to the duty assigned to me, I would like to briefly summarize the discussion we had in the last 2 hours. This webinar is organized in 4 individual sessions, including this inaugural session, addressing different themes with respect to women's nutrition. In the last 2 hours, we had the most relevant deliberations related to the title, Why Women's Nutrition Matters. To put this discussion in simple words, women's nutrition matters. It matters at the micro level for the health and well-being of women and children and their families. But at the macro level, it is about having a healthy and productive citizens who can actively contribute to the nation's development. With these few words, I am moving on to the duty of delivering vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to thank Professor H. Venkateswarlu, respected Vice Chancellor, Central University of Kerala, for his consistent support and motivation he extended towards Center for Women Studies to have and pursue higher goals with respect to women's development at the regional and national level. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Rajendra Pilangata for his consistent support at each and every stage of conducting this webinar. And he has kindly agreed to inaugurate the session today and delivered very informative lecture related to the topic of the webinar. Thank you, sir, for joining us today despite your busy schedule. Thank you, sir. I express my heartfelt gratitude to today's chief guest, Padma Shri Dr. V. Prakash, for enlightening us intellectually as well as emotionally. Sir has comprehensively addressed all the aspects of the title of the webinar. Apart from that, rather than being more technical or formal, Sir has clearly explained how different aspects of nutrition matters. Sir has covered how we are taking food and farmers taken for granted. What is the importance of capacity building, protecting traditional knowledge, the need of innovative research in ensuring nutrition, improving nutrition of not only women but of all individuals. He also touched the areas of physical activity, the immune, how appreciable is immune mechanism of our body, the quality of food we eat. So he addressed almost all aspects of the title we have planned to address through this webinar. Sir, you have motivated us, give us ideas that we can take it forward, and you have, as I already mentioned, you have enlightened us intellectually and emotionally. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Jayalakshmi. Thank you. Thank you.
Now I would like to thank Professor Govinda Rao, Dean, School of Biological Sciences, and Dr. Aradhi Nair, Medical Officer, Central University of Kerala, for felicitating the webinar inaugural function. Thank you, thank you, Professor Govinda Rao and Dr. Aradhi. Now, I would like to thank Dr. Supriya, who has been instrumental in conducting this webinar. She was the key person, backbone from the start of Center for Women Studies in 2018 till date, and she is always encouraging everyone to have to conduct the most relevant programs that we can, so that we can achieve the goals of the Center for Women Studies, the mission of Center for Women Studies. Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Chitra Manisheri and Dr. Ashwadya Nair for being supportive and for taking an active role in conducting this webinar through various respects. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Chitra, and thank you, Dr. Ashwati. Next, I would like to thank NCW for their entire support they have shown. They are financially supporting this webinar. And to name a few, I sincerely thank Mr. Gaurav Agarwal, Ms. Gunjan Singh, and Mr. Ashutosh from the National Commission for Women for their time-to-time advices and support extended for this webinar. Thank you all. Thank you, NCW. Next, I would like to thank the organizing committee of the webinar. Professor M.R. Biju, Chairman, Advisory Committee, Center for Women Studies, Dr. Prasanna Kumar PC, Associate Professor, Department of International Relations, Dr. Lakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of Social Work, Dr. Asha S., Assistant Professor, Department of English and Comparative Literature. Thank you all. Next, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to IT team of Central University of Kerala, Mr. Srilesh and Ms. Lakshmi for providing the technical support. Finally, I thank all the participants for joining us today. I hope we are going to deliberate and learn many issues relevant to the topic of women's nutrition. Your active participation in the webinar and consequent discussion is the key to achieve the goal of NCW to increase the awareness about nutrition and plan and implement effective strategies in future related to improving nutrition for all and women. Thank you all. I once again thank each and everyone who has contributed to this webinar directly and indirectly. Before winding up, I would like to request all the participants to actively join in the coming sessions in the afternoon and tomorrow. I request all of you to join at least 10 minutes prior to the webinar for the smooth conduct of the sessions. So see you in the afternoon session. Thank you so much.
We also thank Dr. Aparna, Miss Aparna, who is our student, who compared and, networked all the things. I'm sure you mentioned somewhere, Jayalakshmi, but I thought I would really congratulate the leadership of young people. Tomorrow, they're going to be the leaders. Thank you, Aparna. So nice of you for comparing so well, so well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will be, yes, sir.
Yeah, please.
We will be concluding this session with the National Anthem. I kindly request everyone to pay respect to our National Anthem. Thank you, everyone.
Session ends here. Thank you all. Thank you very much. See you in the afternoon session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.